I walked 34 miles, almost drowned in a field, and wrestled with the deep, dark recesses of my tortured brain. This is the Steve Calis Show. Hiya, you're right. Hi, everyone. If you've been watching the show or listening to it regularly, then you'll know that the last few months I've been in a real mood to challenge myself. I believe that some manner of discomfort is healthy because it allows you to feel grateful for the comfort and the things that you've got. But also I think that challenging yourself and challenging myself is particularly important these days because life is very good. I'm very warm, safe and comfortable, and that wasn't always the case. I've had problems with drink and drugs. I was homeless, really hungry and homeless, and it was awful. But I've told that story on other podcasts. I won't tell it here. There is something about challenging myself and pushing myself that reminds me of those lessons that if I'm not careful, I might forget. So we first walked to Weymouth back in November. We did it in about 30 miles, took us 13 hours. We're really rubbish at walking, as you'll soon learn. So Lyme Regis. Lyme Regis is if those of you who don't live in England or Somerset, if you're not familiar, Lyme Regis is a seaside town. It's very beautiful. And we decided to walk there. Now, I think it's roughly about 27, 28 miles from Yeovil. It took us about 34, 35 miles, and much longer than it would take any other human being. We decided to take what they call the Liberty Trail, which is a designated trail which is meant to be walked and ran. It's a very beautiful trail, but we got so lost that we just went miles out the way in all different directions. We went into a town called West Chinnock, which is depressingly close to our home in Yeovil, and we got lost there for so long. By the way, if you hear any background noise, it's because I'm in the middle of a tornado and the garage is being destroyed around me. The key elements of the Lyme Regis walk were I did it with my friend Tom Graham, who is, when we were growing up, we were like brothers, and it's so nice to reconnect and do these sort of challenging walks and stuff together. So we set off from Yeovil, and it was really good. We were very excited and enthusiastic. I think it was like 5 or 6 in the morning. So we set off from Ham Hill, which is those of you who live locally know that it's a really beautiful area that we're lucky to have sort of right on our doorstep. And then we started on the Liberty Trail on the way to Lyme Regis, and we soon got lost, and we had to sort of navigate. We had to navigate our way back onto the Liberty Trail whenever we lost it, and it was really difficult. We're not very good at orientation or navigation, so it was tricky. At one point, we had an important decision to make. We could either go left, where there was a sign for the Liberty Trail, which we hadn't seen for miles and miles, so maybe we should rejoin the Liberty Trail to the left, or maybe we go right on the path that we're on, which is the path that Google Maps suggests as the quickest direct route to Lyme Regis. Now, as a duo, we decided to go right and ignore the Liberty Trail sign. So we did, and we saw on the other side of the gate that there was this immense field with a river coursing through it that we had to cross.
All right, this field, for future us, is not where you're supposed to be. We almost drowned in a swamp.
And so we thought, oh, well, how difficult could that be? How difficult could that be? We said it. And so we got halfway across the field and we realized we're sinking in this field. It's because it had obviously been heavily flooded recently, and all 17 stone of me was being submerged, and I was disappearing beneath the ground, and Tom was disappearing beneath the ground. We were starting to worry, and it was scary because no one knew where we were. I mean, even if you had decided to follow the Liberty Trail, you wouldn't make the poor decisions that we had to make that would lead you into that field to find us in the first place. So there we were, drowning in this field, and luckily I managed to deduce that there was these sort of thick weeds growing out, and that I hoped that the roots of these weeds would be dense enough that we could sort of step on them, and that turned out to be the case. So we just about managed to navigate our way out this field, and then and that took ages. So we brushed ourselves off, and then went, well, that was horrible, and then went all the way back on ourselves, and then we went left, the initial route back onto the Liberty Trail. But the problem is, at this point, we've still got 5 or 6 hours of walking left to do, and we've already been walking for 5 or 6 hours. So our feet were starting to get really tired, and now they were soaked. We had waterproof shoes on, but now the water had gone in over the shoe, and our toes were getting blistered, and it was becoming really uncomfortable. And so we persevered for a couple of hours, and then my mindset really started to change. I've started to try and nurture over the last 5-6 months a sort of champion mindset, or a tough mindset, so that I can get through difficult challenges. But something about the cold and the wet and the blisters and the being lost and the exhaustion and it defeated me. And this time I didn't bring a spare phone so I could listen to podcasts and audiobooks. That's the main way I distract myself usually. So I was just stuck alone. It started to get dark. Didn't really know where we were. And I was just, Tom was sort of trailing behind me, but we're so tired. We're just being quiet and getting to where we need to go. My mind started to wander. Now, does your brain do this? Do you ever find yourself going, hey, remember that thing that you don't like, or that awkward thing you said, or that horrible thing that happened to you 10 years ago? Well, here it is. And then your brain replays it in detail, and you get lost in these sort of horrible fantasies and these horrible memories. And I couldn't shake it off. So it got dark, and I was just really struggling. I felt like a failure. I felt weak. The thing that pulled me out of, I'm not sure if this funny part of the story is going to make any sense, because I'm almost certain you had to be there. But at one point, we had been walking down these long, looping, downhill country lanes, and we decided to take a seat at the bottom. I needed a minute because I was really trying to tussle with and overcome the dark place that I'd sort of slipped into. And we heard this majestic trotting from down the hill. And I saw this beautiful, magnificent, massive white stallion, and the rider atop it. They looked beautiful. It was really, really powerful. And I thought, man, the universe knows I'm in a dark place and is sending this beacon of white light toward me to say, everything's going to be okay, Steve. It's temporary. Pain is temporary. The success will last the rest of your life. And as I was enjoying this moment, as I was enjoying this moment, what you should know about my friend Tom, who I did the walk with, Tom has very poor vision. It's a miracle he's allowed to do anything. It's a miracle he's got a driver's license. His vision is awful. He's essentially blind. And as I was enjoying the majesty of this moment and being grateful for this gift that the universe had bestowed upon me in my hour of need, I heard Tom's voice nervously say, "Does it have a rider?" I said, "Huh? Does it have a rider on it?" And the problem is, the rider on the horse was wearing camo. And I could see easily, I could see what he was, it's a rider. But Tom thought there was a enormous wild animal. So my experience was of a beautiful, peaceful gift. And Tom was seeing this enormous, riderless white stallion potentially being a threat and barreling towards us. And that the juxtaposition of those two trains of thought really tickled me and made me laugh, and it managed to pull me out of my dark mood. So the horse was beautiful, and Tom enjoyed the view of the horse as it strode past, and he managed to see it did have a rider. So after that, it was a real slog. There was a couple hours of uphills, and we had to sort of get ourselves in the zone to complete the mission. I mean, there's people that are laughing at this because they run ultra marathons and shit, but we're fat and we smoke, so it's harder for us. And we're building up to one big challenge, which I'll tell you about another day. But we managed to complete it. We got to Lyme Regis. Our friend Josh came and picked us up, and we were tired. Our feet were blistered. It was an exhausting adventure, but I'm very glad we did it. The sense of achievement the next day was good, but actually most of the time I spent thinking, what else can we do? What's next? What's the next big challenge? And the next big challenge for us is Bristol. In March, we're going to be walking to Bristol, which should take about 17 hours. It's a much longer, much more difficult route. And that's it. I suppose that's what I wanted to talk about. I want to say about my Lyme Regis trip. I waffled that at you, so I'm not sure if any of that actually made any sense. But hopefully it did, and hopefully you enjoyed the story. If you are listening to this, if you enjoyed this, then please consider going to Spotify, leaving us a 5-star review, clicking the follow button. We want to be the best podcasters. I want to be the best podcaster in the world one day. I'm many years away from that, but that is my dream. And you can help me by supporting us by clicking the follow button and going to Spotify, doing all that stuff. So anyway, I think that's it. I've been Steve Calis. This is the Steve Calis Show, and I will see you next Tuesday. Au revoir!
Hiya, you're right. Hi, everyone.